Good morning, everybody. Just a quick catch up in the front. Not a lot I want to talk about today. Huge amount of painting I need to get stuck into. So it's now 8 o'clock in the morning and I've watered both front and back gardens without the rows on the watering can so that I can water directly at the roots of the plants. Otherwise, the water just evaporates off the surface of the soil. So I took the rows off the watering cans and you can see the little birds are everywhere. Since I have put a lot more mulch down and the little watering tray under the roses there and a bit of shelter, the birds are visiting a lot more. So they're also eating a lot of the seeds because I leave a lot of stuff to go to seed. So I've just deadheaded all the calendula, I have just chopped and dropped, keeping them away from the sweet peas at the bottom of the trellis there because I don't want the slugs coming under all the cover of chop and drop, although it's still close enough for them to hide. But I'll go through a little bit of stuff as I'm going anyway. So I've chopped back the borage just there because there are some new shoots coming up lower down, and right next to it the only dahlia of all our dahlias that has survived, so I'm very happy about that. One coming back. The celery is still going fine. I'm allowing that to go to flower because the scent on the flowers is quite nice and strong, and the pollinating insects absolutely love it, and the predatory insects. Kale's doing fine, it's surviving. It doesn't do very, very well come late afternoon because even though I water the roots really well, the tops of the plants, as I said before, they seem to wilt a bit in the heat. But they're surviving, and they're growing. So happy days on that one. The clary sage over there is hanging on for dear life. Just there. Hanging on for dear life. All the sweet williams are going to seed, which is great. I'm hoping to spread lots of seed around for them. Finally, this is the best in almost 5 years since I took the cuttings from the shop bought flowers. These carnations are now flowering beautifully, and I've just taken some cuttings of the cut flowers to decorate inside the house as well. The strawberries are still growing. I haven't really been harvesting from these alpine strawberries. I'm just leaving them there. The birds eat the strawberries. They feed the ground. So they're happy. The rhubarb has recovered, and in the last 2 weeks this hasn't wilted once. Though there are aphids around because they covered the valerian herb at the back there. But I'm not too worried. It's surviving. I need to take out some of the yellowing leaves because they're older. And I need to start harvesting some more to eat. We don't eat a lot of it because obviously too much is not good. It tends to aggravate our arthritis a bit. But I love rhubarb and I have been using it in vinegar. So I still have to see how that's worked out. Look, a wasp. A beautiful tiny little wasp under there. Can you see? Oh, it's disappeared. Right under there. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's gone. But that's a predatory wasp, so that's fine. We like that. Nature doing its thing and encouraging the pest control by itself. We did have on here, I don't know if you can see, a few little honeyberries. However, I think the heat is affecting this bush because normally they're much, much bigger. Much, much bigger than that. So I'm just leaving it to do its thing. I'll thin out a few of the lower branches in the autumn just to make sure I keep light in the bottom there and more space for ground cover plants. The Daubenton's kale is still going all right. Some of the leaves are yellowing, and that's happening in a lot of plants. I think it's because the mulch I put down to stop too much evaporation of the water is still not quite a year old, so it still can suck a bit of the nitrates out of the soil, but I'll remedy that. I'll just water down some urine and put that around. Hopefully that will balance that out a bit. But they're growing, they're still fine. Even the foxgloves are now at the end of that plant's life, but I've cut down. There are some new bits at the back. My roses have come back again, flowering still. That's coming from a new thing at the bottom. The flowers aren't as strongly scented as the old one, so I'm wondering if that's coming from an original, from the bottom of the scion, from the original rootstock, and maybe that's why it's not quite the same, because these are a slightly more apricot yellow rose. Maybe it's just because they need a bit of bone meal in the ground and some rose food. I should probably feed it and a bit more manure. Maybe that'll give it a stronger scent on the roses again, because this rose usually has a very, very strong and beautiful scent. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Let's go around this way. The teasel is still growing nicely there. The blackberries are getting loads of fruit on them. The Russian cat, the Nero kale, is doing fine. The birds coming every day for water. Oh, and these little cucumbers I was given. Thank you, Michelle, from Edible Landscaping. It's growing, it's hanging on, and I even have a few cucumbers down there. I shall have to tie it up so it grows. Self-heal, growing nicely, and I discovered that I already have one in the back garden that naturalized there somehow and made its own way there. I have no idea how, but I'm very glad I have one. The lady's bed straws hanging on there. I'm going to have to pull it out closer to the edge. I think it needs a bit more light. The primroses are really struggling there, and I think it is because of the mulch. But saying that, this passion flower never came back this year, so I don't know if there's something in the soil or if it's just because of all this mulch that isn't quite rotted enough to go down yet. The birds are eating all the seeds on the Nepalese cabbage. The buddleia is starting to flower. Chamomile is ready for harvesting, so is the lavender. Sweet peas are surviving. Aronia berries are growing. I don't know if they're ripe, they should do. There's a lot of sunlight out here. I have cut a couple of stalks of the Achillea, the cloth of gold, because there are new shoots there, so that'll probably bring us some more flowers. And look at those flowers. Isn't that beautiful flower? The lavender, the clary sage, that's about all that's left of it, but even fading now, the flowers are still beautiful. The lemon balm, I need to take some more harvests off that, give it another hair trim. The comfrey has survived. I'm surprised, it was really struggling before, but I'm happy about that. The salvia, that got trampled a bit and broke at the stalk, but they carried on growing because they're on the ground, so I'm happy with that. Oh look, front garden, and there are some spring onions hiding just over there in my front garden. So yes, as encouraged by Upfront Gardens, encouraging all people to work their front gardens and make them beautiful and productive and places where people can talk. And it really has, because so many neighbours and people walking by stop when I'm working in the garden and chat. This rose, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I didn't expect it to come out like that, but it's beautiful. Small little rose, a climber, and it is already sending up shoots with beautiful little buds there, so I'll have more beautiful flowers coming up. The clematis looks like it's finished flowering. It doesn't want to do any more unless I deadhead it and let it grow a bit more. But that will go in the ground in autumn because they don't like their roots exposed. And I don't think it would survive the winter in that pot in this exposed position. Sweet peas in there and chamomile hanging on for dear life. But it will grow. It'll be alright. So I'm sure it will. So there's still a bit of harvesting I need to do. Some lavender, some chamomile, lemon balm, comfrey. The bigger leaves I can chop and drop around the fruit and roses and things. and it's not looking bad at all. And look down the horizon there, the Caerphilly Hills. That's our weather vane. So it looks to be a fairish day, maybe a bit hazy because of the clouds over there, but from the bedroom window you can see all the paddocks and the fields and the woodlands up there quite clearly, and it's very beautiful. So yep, I think where that passion flower has died, I'm going to put a camellia in, because that'll be evergreen and it'll grow into a nice big strong bush, so it'll shade out the inside of this arch better. And I will put a bird bath inside there, so the birds have got plenty of shelter, and it'll make a nicer higher structure, and I'll have some other flowers there as well. I'm going to put my lilac in the autumn there where the kale are, in the middle of them. I'm going to put the lilac there, and I'm going to put the acer right there where the Nepalese cabbage is against the fence. Wow, between the Eleagnus and the buddleia, and closer into the garden, not so close to the wall, because it'll have a nice big root system. So I'll put them there, and I'm going to get some more hostas, ferns and Solomon's seal to put over there by the wisteria, by the wall and along the wall, because that's a nice sheltered place, and I'm hoping it will be a good place for some woodland edge plants or stuff like that. And along that side, I mean, and I've got the honeyberries, I've got 2 honeyberries this side of the rose, but I do need some more just between those honeyberries, something more structural and taller, to create more shadow from that direction. Although we need the shadow the shade from trees in the front and that side, because that is the most exposed part of the front garden. And I think once we get that, then next year the plants won't wilt so much in the heat. So there you go, update for the front. But look at this first before we go anywhere. Right, I just cut these achillea, and look at the bottoms of the flowers, just as spectacular as the front. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? And yet look at the back, it looks like a tree, a beautiful tree, and you see the branches and the veins. It's just amazing. I love it so much. And there's some of the carnations. The strawberry leaves I shall be drying and adding to mixed greens. Thank you, Heidi from Rain Country. I didn't know that I could do that with him, so my diet is definitely going to be more and more varied. Some of the hydrangeas from that bush in the corner, they make beautiful cut flower displays. So I'll mix all of these flowers up in a vase, and that'll be my first bunch of cut flowers from the garden this year. I hope over the years I'll have a lot more that I can get some from. But that's about it. That's about it for today. And my green bin very rarely ever gets used. I only ever put stuff in there that I can't just chop and drop or shred up, or if it's diseased stuff or some really invasive weeds that I don't want, like the rose bay willow. If I had a lot of land, I wouldn't mind a patch of that, because it's a beautiful plant and the bees love it. But in the small garden I can't allow it to run rampage, so it goes in the green bin. And I think I put my green bin out maybe 3 times an entire year, so that's not bad for keeping my green and plant material in the garden so that it never leaves, because I am trying to create more soil. There was no soil in this garden really. It was just a very thin layer of, no, there was no topsoil at all. It was clay, grass and moss, and then stones. So yeah, I'm building soil. We're getting there with all the mulching and the chopping and dropping and growing things and shading the ground. We will have a build-up of soil very soon, quicker than in our other gardens. But anyway, that's it for today. I hope you have a lovely sunny day. Enjoy the weather while it lasts. The schools here are going to break up in about 19th or 20th of this month, somewhere around there. So traditionally, as it goes, as soon as the children are on school holidays, the summer disappears and we get rubbish weather, because it's always ironic that way. Just when the children are off and we want to go out with them, the weather changes. So I'm sure that there will be an end to this drought very soon, as soon as the children are on school holiday, which is such a shame. but enjoy it while it lasts. Bye bye everyone.